Yeah, welcome back. This is Newsfile brought to you by Bank of Africa. Close as a partner is strong as a group. MTN, welcome to the new world. Sasso Spray, fresh and powerful. Star Assurance, creating smiles since 1985 and celebrating 30 years of solid partnership. Lipton Tea, the #1 tea brand, Yamvita. That is the delicious way to grow. Now, there was a demonstration by Let My Vote Count Alliance together with AFAG and one other group. They sought to take a message to the Electoral Commission that there ought to be a new voters register at all cost. The police went to court, secured an injunction that said that they could not picket at the EC's premises or Parliament House. They agreed and then took on to the streets on the day of the demonstrations. Something happened. Let's look at these videos. At members of the Let My Vote Count Alliance going through the demonstration. We are looking at hordes of police officers who are also following the process. Some police persons trying to explain to some demonstrators in this particular picture. In this picture, the police outnumber the demonstrators. Here you see tear gas that's gone in the air. A lot more tear gas in this particular picture in the back. This man is running away. He's being chased by the police. You see police, this man who is on his knees and raises his hands and he's being whipped by the police. Also, you see some ladies as well in the demonstration, and now you are seeing scenes where people are just running and the police are chasing after them. There's a lady who is being chased by about 6 police officers with canes or batons. What are they doing with those? Ensuring that there is discipline. Barima.asare Ochre Dako, who is being whipped all over his body. You see the marks of the horse whips. The injury is very clear from seeing what you, if you have seen those pictures already, perhaps on Joy News, on myjoyonline.com or graphic, or on social media. Okay, thank you very much. And now I start with Abdul Malik Bako. You are some sort of specialist in demonstrations. There are those who say, first of all, that this demonstration was so needless, was unimportant, because you want a new election register. The EC has asked all the parties to bring their position on the matter and that the issue will be looked at. Why go on a demonstration in the first place?
Politics. I recall when the anti-RUPA demos were underway, somewhere in 2006. I recall then Minister of Information, Dan Botry, made a point that, look, they had about 3 or 4 demonstrations within a matter of 2 or 3 months. And Dan Botry thought the demonstrations were becoming too many and needless. And I wonder what the reaction was to that statement he made. You know, for me, what happened could have been avoided if the 2 sides had come to a proper agreement. But in spite of that, what the police conduct is key. The brutalization, for me, was where the problem is. We've gone on demonstrations so many times. There are always some few deviations here and there. Let me tell you what Professor Mills, 2006, when they had the demo, the second series, that was 21st February, and there was police brutalization of the demonstrators. This is what Professor Mills said. He issued a statement because we will go on the third one, which had been scheduled for March 2nd.
What was this demonstration about?
Anti-Roper.
Okay.
And good old professor said that police are aware that in all mass events, such as demonstrations, there are bound to be unanticipated, untoward behavior and incidents. What the police should not do is that they must not capitalize on such isolated incidents, should they occur, to go clubbing, thumping, batooning, and water-hosing innocent demonstrators. This is what the great old professor, may he rest in peace, said. This was an advice to the police. He went on to attack the police for what they had done on the 21st and reminded them that demonstrations, agitations, and street struggles won Ghana independence, as well as freed us from the claws of our champions, Unigov. And then asked the police to go and read the judgment that was delivered on the NPP versus IGP. If you recall, that's what brought about the opening up the space, because the Constitution had given us the space all right, but the police were still resisting, doing all sorts of things. So the NPP went to court to challenge this thing. That's what took away the so-called permit thing, and then led Parliament to bring about a Public Order Act eventually. Now I'm beginning to have my problems with the Public Order Act. I think somebody is seeking to abuse the letter to kill the spirit of the Public Order Act. The police have found a way of using the Public Order Act to stifle. Look, they go to court very late, sometimes when there's not an agreement. Before you say jack, there's an ex parte. Meanwhile, you may have advertised the route and the agenda and things ahead of time. So come that D-Day, when it's only 24 hours, it's difficult to communicate to the crowd the kind of route you are passing through. We've grown too much during this democracy that I thought by now we should have been able to handle some of these matters. So
should the law be changed such that you will not get an ex parte process for it? You should go on notice.
Fortunately, we have lawyers here. They can deal with it. But I'm going in that direction of ensuring that this attempt of using the court and waiting till last minute, and it's always ex parte, so it gets through, and then you have to come and enforce it.
And it's always granted.
And it's always granted.
You're making the point.
It's always granted. So there's a problem there. Somebody, somewhere, and it didn't start today. Yeah. Let's be clear about it. It's not peculiar to this era. Has been abusing the letter of the law to kill the spirit of that same law. That is not in our interest.
You know the surprising thing?
Yeah.
Most of these ex parte injunctions are not even done by the Attorney General or her staff. You get a police officer who's not a lawyer. You do criminal prosecutions. That is the extent to which the police are allowed to, come and address a court. You do it at the circuit court and the district court. No criminal matter is pending before a circuit court judge. A policeman prepares a motion, ex parte, for injunction, and files it before a circuit court judge, and goes to the circuit court and moves the motion.
Sometimes high court.
Sometimes high court, but in a lot of instances, you go to the circuit court.
Yes.
And I'm asking, why would a judge who has no criminal matter pending before him allow a policeman to come and move a motion? Meanwhile, these same police officers who move the motions at the circuit court, when there's a criminal trial ongoing, and you file, for instance, as lawyer for the defense, you file an application for enforcement of fundamental human rights at the High Court, or for certiorari to quash what is going on at the High Court, When you serve it on the policeman recognizes that he's not a lawyer, would say he's taking you to the Attorney General's department for the Attorney General to come and answer that motion. If you are not fit to speak to motions about, the High Court and the rest, why do you double in applications at the Circuit Court?
Okay, but you first address this for me. First, you conclude. Okay, I wanted you to address the question of the brutalities that occurred and the fact that the police have said that some of the demonstrators actually did not only provoke them, but they sought to throw stones at them.
Listen,
okay.
Kofi Adams apparently believes in the police viewpoint, and not just him, another member of parliament on the NDC side believes so. That's why I began by alerting us what the great old professor said. In the same statement, he referred to what Justice Akins had said in that judgment, and I would want to quote. He says, it is very tempting for some policemen to adopt the attitude of being too ready or willing to give orders or misuse their authority and be bossy and interfering, ready to show the public where power lies. He was sourcing Justice Akins. Then he concluded, this is Professor Mills, I condemn unreservedly the police brutalization of the demonstrators and the innocent bystanders and the atrocities meted out to them. I do not accept that what the police used on that day was minimum force. Indeed, what the police used was maximum force, except that thanks be to God, nobody died. There's no difference between what happened then and what happened now. Even if the police had to actually check those who had deviated, I am saying the kind of reaction was more of an overkill. And we ought not to condone it in any respect. That is the bloody truth. This culture, this subculture, is what we fought against until we got to this stage. I'm afraid if we are not careful, the so-called democratic policing may have a different effect on our democratic rights.
Interesting. Now just hold it. The police have said that they were enforcing the orders of the court. The court had given an injunction which said that you don't go here, you don't go there. But some of the protesters attempted to go there.
It is an interesting enforcement of a court injunction. The little law I know is that if there's an injunction that is breached, there's a process for enforcing the injunction. I have not known that it involves police pulling out whips and whipping people even when they were running. You see, people forget one thing. In this day and age, technology rules. They have been filmed, they have been pictured, running after somebody. Once that person is out of the zone, what is the business chasing him up, whipping him? Some of these policemen were in plain clothes. So what if somebody had hit back? I want to go back a little bit, because I want about 5 minutes to deal with this. In 1993, I was a teaching assistant at the Faculty of Law. It was a period of demonstrations, which led to the shooting. He was a student. He was a student. He was a participant. Yes, he was a very bad boy. Now, I was a teaching assistant. The demonstrations that led to the shooting of Vidofori at IPS, who was in her room. Yeah. Now, the students had had tried to block the road. I was at the Faculty of Law, seeing the chaos going on. But before that, in the morning, the police had brought these police recruits. At the time, they used baskets as shields. Yeah. And I'm telling you something I saw. And they were packed behind the Legon police station. So the students were on their side, the police were on their side. The road was in the middle. The students had been warned not to block the road. They tried. So the police charged. I thought that once they charged and the students fled into the campus, that was the end of the matter. No, the police invaded the campus, chased them, whipped people in their rooms. At Saba Hall, main hall gate, you shot at people. You could see the mark in the wall. They said it was rubber bullets. If that's rubber bullets, I wonder what a live bullet would do. Shot at the wall, missed people, beat people up in their rooms. There's a lawyer I know now who was in his room. He did not go on the demonstration. They entered his room and beat him. In fact, there are stories about police entering the rooms and coming out eating bread. Yes. Still unverified. Why? At the time, a demonstration required a permit under the Public Order Act. So the MPP went to court. And it was interesting that Professor Mills of the NDC cited a case the MPP went to court. And the Supreme Court said, this is wrong. The police have no right to say that we will permit or not permit a right that is granted under the Constitution. Then Ghanaians went to sleep. So the executive and the legislature schemed and put in place the Public Order Act, which says, well, you no longer require a permit or license or consent or agreement, but you must notify the police. What is the difference between the permit and the notification? Because the notification is being applied in a way now that is effectively a permit. So the spirit and intent and letter of the Supreme Court decision is being defeated by the application of legislation. And we are all sitting down quietly, calmly. Nobody's lifting a finger, forgetting that that the ring will fit you next. Now watch this. Why would it be that when the Supreme Court has said permit is unconstitutional, you indeed smuggle a permit in under the word notification? Is it any less unconstitutional? Now this is what happens, and they are right. When they disagree, the police wait to the last minute and file an ex parte injunction. I recall one, that must have been in the around getting to 2000 in the High Court, and I had an argument with the police people that this is not right. At the very least, notify the leaders of the demonstrators. Let them be heard. It is wrong. It is unconstitutional to go behind the back of the people and file it alone. So you are the only one who is heard. Give the judge the opportunity to hear the two sides. So on that, I fault the police and I fault the legislative system. But we must also fault the judiciary. We all know the basic rules for ex parte applications. There must be an urgency, and the urgency must be such a nature that the matter will be destroyed if the other part is giving notice. How will the demonstration be destroyed if the leaders of the demonstration are giving notice of the application before the court? You want notice of the demonstration, but you don't want notice of your application to the court to stop the demonstration. There is a problem here. Yeah. It is illogical. It is wrong. It is unconstitutional. And we don't have to go to the Supreme Court for this to be fixed. Let the executive and parliament fix this. That at least if we are going to go to court, give that arbitrator the opportunity to be impartial. Let him hear both sides. Let her hear both sides and decide that no, you guys, I restrain you, or no, police, I think you're wrong. But here it is smuggled behind your back. Some of the motions are moved in chambers. So nobody, even if you are sitting in the courtrum, you won't know that the motion has been moved in the judge's chambers. I was
that question why lawyers too are in these courts, and when these motions are being moved, they don't get up as friends of the court to make a case.
Well, we can fault lawyers on this, but the buck stops to the people who are hearing the matter or who are filing the application. Often it is in the chambers of the judge. So then it was typed and printed, and you will not be served with it until the day of the demonstration. Right. There's something wrong with this, but also I think that those who go on demonstrations must also bear some responsibility. We know what these things result in. We all bear a certain responsibility to make sure that people follow the approvals. But having participated in 1 or 2 demonstrations in my life, I know that sometimes it is utterly impossible to restrain it. So I'm sitting now saying that could they have done this when the TUC went on demonstration? We saw the videos, technology. They said they can't pass in a certain route. They put the police there. When they saw the mass of the people, the police opened the way.
What happened to the Abu Bushi people?
What about Abu Bushi?
Somebody was running away into his car.
What happened at Abu Bushi? See, so if you are weak, they beat you. If you are strong, they run away. The police ran away at Abu Bushi. We all saw the videos. This is Ghana now. Everything's on video. It's on YouTube. It's on Facebook. But let me make the point. So we need to address this. And once again, please, that flippant comment that go to court ought to stop. Can the executive take the lead in this? Can we agree on rules of engagement that are legislated so that when the court sits, the court hears both sides and the court will make that decision? Then we can commence serious contempt proceedings against leaders who are unable to control their people. After all, when doctors go on strike and the court injuncts the strike, do they beat the doctors to go back to work or beat the teachers to go back to work? No, you cite their leaders for contempt. And we ought to let the law work. Both executive, judiciary, and then you people who organize demonstrations. Can we all sit down and have a rational discussion of this and put in place the rules instead of this putting up horse whips and whipping human beings? So what if the people were stronger than the police? We find dead police people this morning. There's a time in the history of the University of Ghana demonstrations when a policeman was kidnapped. Yeah. When he invaded the campus to try and beat students. Yeah. Is that what we want to happen?
But see, we are hearing that the police say that stones were pelted at them and so on and so forth, even though we are yet to have any evidence of any injury suffered by any policeman. But is it not really the case that the police is empowered by law professionally to use minimum force to enforce the law where there's a breach? Yeah. And can it not be said that this is what they were doing on this occasion?
Well, Samson, a lot of jurisprudence on the history of demonstrations has actually been clearly explained by the other speakers. I have a very good memory of what has happened in the past with regards to the Kremi Prekoans, with regards to ROPA, even in recent times, the sort of things that have actually emanated from demonstrations. The law says they should use reasonable force to control irate crowds. They have some measures that they can use when that happens, like the water cannons, the little buttons that they hold. Normally when a demonstration is peaceful, when it's well organized, we have actually witnessed some rather very peaceful demonstrations where the police have actually just served as a barrier to the demonstrators and ensured that they followed the agreed routes. You know, usually these demonstrations are preceded by very long discussions between the police and the group of persons who are willing or have applied at any given time to demonstrate or go on such a demonstration. But we all know that demonstrations the world over also have a tendency, you know, you can easily lose track of what you've agreed on. You have people who come in with different intentions. Look, sometimes even the leaders would lose control over the people who follow. We know how this country is. We have several people who are standing on the road, bystanders, witnesses, who absolutely, yes, absolutely have nothing to do with the demonstration. But the minute they see the crowd, they will join and cause mayhem. Listen, there is a need for us to continue to follow due process in everything. A disciplined society is a successful society. And we must actually show discipline in all of our activities, irrespective of where you find yourself. If you have applied to go on a demonstration and the police have actually told you that this date is not suitable, there is some other activity taking place, there are several other reasons why you should not embark on a demonstration on this date or at this time, there must be some reasonable explanation for why these instructions are being given out. It also behoves on leaders of these demonstrations to at least meet the police halfway, because then you can also embark on your demonstration as peacefully as you want to be. Look, peace begets peace. And I believe that the whole decision by this particular group of persons who went on this last demonstration, and I say this in all fairness to all of the things that have been complained about, is that they had agreed on a laid down route. And the EC has actually always, since time immemorial, been declared as a security zone. Even when you approach the EC in the weeks running up to any type of elections, you and I know that they put all these police people there, escorts, name it. There's a good reason. To be honest with you, look, the EC had actually already told political party leaders to present their proposals for whatever reforms they envisage in the run-up to the election. Yes, there might be a need to put more pressure on the authorities to bend to a certain viewpoint. But what is the urgency in this matter, first and foremost?
But this was not a party-organized event.
Well, it started off, let's be honest, it started off as a party-organized event. But of course, later on, they got some other persons to join them who were not necessarily...
I'm talking of the demonstration.
Let my vote.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
It wasn't party
It was
organized.
AFAG. Let's start from the nitty-gritty. It was AFAG starting this business, true or false?
Group.
Exactly. But we also know that someone even explained, one of the MPP guys, a doctor on a program, explained that AFAG had started this proposal and that Let My Vote Count had joined PNC individuals. You know, let's be honest.
Just
they
like
explained,
CJ,
absolutely, yes, and I'm not
parties.
taking that away. Exactly. I'm just trying to build a case that much as we sometimes would have these excesses, the responsibility also behoves on the demonstrators to at least adhere to these basic instructions. As I said, we have even had demonstrations in Ghana, and I mean, Abdul Malik, you will agree with me, where people have lost their lives.
Of course.
So the jurisprudence is there for us all to learn from. And if we do not learn from the past and we don't allow history to guide us, then where are we going as a nation? The police may have been forced to use reasonable methods to control this particular crowd.
But that's not what
and
they
we
did.
know that when they asked to picket, well, reasonable is actually a relative test.
When somebody's running away, then
what,
you still whip the person.
well, you see, videos can also be edited.
Said,
we also know how to, you know, videos can be edited. And we are also able to, you know. So
as I sit here, you're a politician.
I tend to agree that
you're a politician.
No.
You guys, please.
I agree that there is no.
Let's hold the scales.
The law even tells you should take your victim as you find the victim. Maybe it depends on how.
How does that apply here?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
How does taking the victim as you find apply here?
Listen,
there are some of these pictures I'm looking at right now.
Yes,
Here
and we have all seen the pictures.
No, just look at this. This
Some
picture,
of them may not necessarily connote the truth, and I wasn't there when this video was taken.
You and I were not there.
You and I were not there, so I would not want to lay any claim to this.
Video was taken.
All I want to, I said exactly that.
But you believe in it.
But I told you that it depends on the impression that it creates in the public.
Can we do this?
We have settled that
Here
already.
you are.
But I don't want an impression to be created that...
Here you are. He's spraying this water, right?
Yes.
And he's spraying in their faces.
Yes.
You can say this is minimum or reasonable force.
The test will depend.
Now
look at this.
Look at this.
Claim to whether or not
look at this gentleman on the floor.
Yes.
Look at this gentleman on the floor.
We've seen them all.
How many police person? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. And there's another one who is in plain clothing.
Yes.
And you can see that he seems to want to suffocate the gentleman.
Point. I believe that Abdul Malik has actually explained the way that there were some excesses.
Now, these are pictures by the graphic. I think that they will not have any reason to mutilate them.
As I said,
and look at this one too. He's being beaten even though he's been subdued. There's a gentleman on the floor again on the road, and he's being kicked by this policeman. This lady, one girl, how many police officers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I am sure we have seen all of these pictures.
And this one, this very last one, this is a gentleman who was running away, got to a point, he fell down, he's on his knees and he's lifted his hands.
You've drawn some conclusions already. Is that the case here? Because I have not come to any conclusions. I want us to stay with the facts as they are. Let's start and tell.
Unlikely when you are not in power, you go on demonstration, and this happens to you.
And
you know, I'll be the first person. I'm the first person to say what
let me tell you something. The sitting president was actually a member of the ROPA at the time when they went on that demonstration. In fact, at the time, the police officer, and Abdul Malik is here, even came up to ask that if he had actually seen this individual, he would even have punished him more.
So what have we learned from it?
Exactly.
But
and I said, no.
We have learned.
I started off by saying we should be guided by history. No. I
what happened was wrong.
By talking about the jurisprudence. No. I didn't even talk about whose time.
No,
but I started from Kumi
I went to
Roma. No. So you are taking this last bit out of context. But I started on a note where I wanted to exactly back in context that we had Kumi Preko, that we had Ropa, that we've recently had this last one, that there have been excesses. Even in some cases, individuals have lost their lives in the process.
Yes,
is it that we want to be guided by history or we want to carry on in the same way?
The law instead of arguing that pictures have been tampered with.
No, I didn't want even to comment on the pictures, and I believe that everybody has seen the pictures, enough of them. So whether or not it is reasonable or extreme force,
order ought to be held to justice. The police who went out of skill ought to be held to justice. People of Ghana, we need a balance. I'm not sure we are getting this from politicians.
And I don't think that this is also the first time or the last time that this would happen.
Let's make it the last time.
Going forward,
we
should find a way to make it the last time. Yes.
Let's make this the last time.
That's what I agree with.
Thank you, Ace. Now, Egbert, she was asking, it appears I have my own conclusions even before, as far as the pictures are concerned. Well, I do. And my conclusion is that of the position of Archbishop Desmond Tutu, that if you are neutral in a situation of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor.
Yeah.
Now, clearly, I think that there may have been some excesses, but from the pictures that we see, it's almost without a doubt that the police acted wrongly in those situations. But the question ought to be asked, was it not provoked?
Samson, here we are. I'm here to confirm this. But among the many pictures of the brutalization and things that went on, it's a gentleman who had a very, grievous injury on his left eye. I'm told, I'm here to confirm, that that gentleman has had his eyeball removed.
Yes, he's been operated upon.
So the eyeball has been removed.
That's what we've been told.
So if it is as it is, it means that he's lost the use of his left eye forever and ever.
Effect of minimum force.
Effect of minimum force. Samson, I'll take you to Section 2 of the Public Order Act, 1994, Act 491. It provides, Section 2(1)(a) and B. It says, a police officer shall take the steps that are reasonably necessary in a public place, A, to assist in the proper conduct of a special event by directing the routes of the event to prevent obstruction of pedestrian or vehicular traffic, to disperse crowds at a special event where the police officer has reasonable grounds to believe that a breach of the peace is likely to occur, or if a breach of the peace has occurred or is occurring, in order to prevent violence, restore order, and preserve the peace. Samson, you and I, Honorable Joyce and Isankuma, as lawyers, anytime that we see in any legal provision the use of the word reasonable or reasonably, it connotes a thought. It connotes the fact that, yes, you have an obligation, whoever you are, towards the other person. Now, can anybody look me in the face and say that if these people, even if they were wrong, the protesters, they were wrong, the kind of force that came from the police, is it reasonable? If the police is sued right now, would they be able to convince a judge that whipping somebody to the point where he loses the use of his left eye is reasonable?
In fact, they are being sued.
Yes, it ought to happen because, Samson, until the Supreme Court made a determination in this case of him and Kofi and another, the police in this republic were even acting as debt collectors. So in that particular case, where the police actually acted as debt collectors and ensured that a man lost his property, the matter went as far as the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, in one striking seminal, decision, said the police are not supposed to collect debts from people. We've talked and talked and talked and talked about the police and the way they conduct it. It is time to go to court. It is time to go to court and prove to the police that the fact that you wear a uniform, the fact that you are authorized to keep the peace, does not mean that you can misconduct yourself. I've heard one or two police officers come out to rationalize. In fact, go to Twitter, go to social media. There are police officers who are tweeting and actually commenting, applauding this banal orgy of violence that has been perpetrated on a section of the citizenry. It is not proper that because the people wanted to go to the Electoral Commission's premises.
You are not saying also the fact that this is a group that agreed on the route with the police, and yet some to deviate from that.
The section 3 of the same law I'm looking at puts a certain burden on the organizers and other persons. It says responsibility of organizers and other persons and obligates them to do what is right. Let's say that, yes, they did not do what is right.
Right.
But the reaction of the police, is it commensurate to what the people did? I am saying that, you see, when we get up, we talk about instant justice, mob justice. What the police did to these protesters is akin to mob justice. Somebody has lost his eye. Can you fix it? Can you bring it back?
A few of the comments that have come in here from Washington, Wasa Wantram says, the brutish policing exhibited by the police on the peaceful demonstrators must be condemned in the strongest terms possible. The police and their sponsors must know that some day to come, the tables would turn and they would be held liable for their sins. Their faces have been marked and they would surely pay for their sins. From Kweku Owusu Mensah in Germany, why did the police go to court? Just to seek permission to beat up the demonstrators when they err? Shame to some ministers and police officers who justified this police brutality. This reminds me of North Korea. Kosuno Ampem in Spain says police in Ghana are wicked and it's time Ghanaians take drastic measures to stop them from brutalizing innocent Ghanaians. Schiffman in Atonsu says thumbs up to the CJ for how she has handled this judicial scandal. I think that the video must be aired to shame the corrupt judges. Dr. Collins Asumeni in Siani says it appears that the many unheard street pocket lawyers in the court of public opinion have made their conclusions. Seeing indeed is believing, The implicated justices must know that technicalities of the law may bail them, but many hearts are broken by this damning expose. I suggest Kweku Bako be made a judge in the court of public opinion. Kofi Atta in Cambridge, in the UK, says that the actions being taken by the Judicial Council so far regarding the intermediaries are not enough. Those who have been identified should be cautioned, their passports seized and made to report to the police regularly so that they do not abscond the jurisdiction of Ghana. They should be prosecuted if found culpable. Well, those were some of the messages that are coming from you. What do you say, Joyce, to Nana Akufo-Addo, who says that there ought to be a probe? The president, he called on the president to set up a committee to look into this matter.
Well, Samson, thank you very much. I believe that in times past, several committees and probes have actually been carried out, as well as investigations. I don't recall that it was ever the call made by the opposition leader to actually request for commissions to be set up and issues such as this probed. We do agree that sometimes there have been some excesses, that yes, it is time for us to put a stop to it, that the police must be called upon to undertake fully their civic rights and duties of protecting the public. So I would come back to my point again, that in times past, since we started this new democratic process, we have had demonstrations, some peaceful, some have gotten out of hand and out of control. Indeed, there have been some excesses, and this is no exception to the rule. I would want to say that not just as a professional, not also as a politician, but of course as a citizen of this country, that we must work to ensure that people's right to demonstrate is enshrined in the Human Rights Act and of course in the 1992 Constitution, that we should encourage both the demonstrator and the public order enforcer, who is a policeman, to ensure that they agree on the modalities going forward. That we should avoid as much as possible the use of extreme measures when it comes to controlling crowds. But then again, there's an even larger responsibility on the leaders of these demonstrations to ensure that you know the members who are going to demonstrate with you. You set out some rules and some guidelines that should be adhered to.
We just run out of time.
And I think
thank you very much.
Maybe something has been said, something I believe it will be important
What is interesting though? What is interesting though to see is that we have had the police go to court and secure an injunction on the basis that the premises of the election of the EC is a security installation. But we know that in 2008 there was a picketing at that place for days. But we didn't get to have this classification.
Sometimes the police sometimes say it's not reasonable.
But in relation to what Honorable Joyce said.
Yes, I asked about the committee. You agree?
Yes, I agree. You see, and I said, Kweku Bako read something that candidate Mills, complained about in relation to demonstrations. So what is strange if Nana Akufo-Addo, also in that same similar capacity, makes a call, albeit call for a probe? You see, politically speaking, in 1948, Superintendent Charles Imre of the British colonial police in Ghana shot into Issa Kanja, those people, and it resulted in the rout. Eventually, independence came. In 1996,
we are done. Sorry, but we are done. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we are unable to deal with other issues that we had intended to deal with. Abdul Malik Kweku Bako, Ace Kojo Anan Ankuma, Joyce Bawa Mutari, and Egbert Fabel. I'm Samson Ayenini. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.
Newsfile was brought to you